we as people are shaped by our experiences. Model is an average of everything.
Yeah.
An average, by definition, doesn't have a taste.
The promise of AI is real. So is the challenge of making it work in your organization. Welcome to The Path Forward, where we explore the future of work in the age of AI. I'm pleased to once again be joined by Daniel Dinesh, CEO of UiPath, and Andrada Morar. Welcome, guys. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Last week, we had the conversation about the technology components that are involved in this AI transformational moment. Today, we're going to talk about the people, the human beings that are actually doing this. So, Daniel, I want to start with you. The models are getting smarter, they're getting better, they're getting faster. What do we, as the people who are actually using them, need to do to keep up and to make sure that we are still a part of this conversation?
I think we need to really dive into understanding how the enterprise of the future would look like. And I've done a lot of research into what does it mean for us, for UiPath, and what does it mean for our customers. And my conclusion is that enterprises, the way they operate, has been built human-centric.
Yep.
And now I believe that we have to split that role into three ways. It should be human-centric, AI-centric, and automation-centric. And we have to go even deeper into understanding what are durable human traits, what are durable AI traits, or where AI really adds, and what are also the limitations of AI. Because look, there is a narrative out there that in a couple of years we will have like 50 million Einsteins in a data center. I think partly it's true, but I don't think it's totally true. I think people might misunderstand, and when I say I have an Einstein in the data center, they believe that there will be someone completely emulating a human user, like having its own identity, having a self, having stake in the game. Because Einstein is not only his knowledge power, his capability to apply reasoning to a particular domain. Einstein is a person. And this is why enterprises are built around person, about people having a self, an identity, people having will, having initiatives. Models receive a goal and they can pursue a path towards a goal, but who originates those goals? Humans, if you look at how enterprises work, we might start with an originating idea, the founder's idea, but then it's a system of micro initiatives that makes it operating. We train ourselves through many years of experiences and failure. I'm in a room with the customer. I can read the smallest tweak on their face, and I might understand something is wrong, and I can act differently.
Yeah.
I don't see it providing by AI anytime soon. In a well-defined domains, AI it's extraordinary, and it's gonna absorb a lot of the work that humans are doing. So based on these premises, we really need to go and understand deep what's the architecture of the AI native enterprises.
So to hear you talk about that, I really want to zero in on something, which is this idea of like taste and judgment and experience, like the metaphor you give of like you're reading the room. Talk about like, what does it mean to have those skills in a business setting, especially in a business setting that is now being so heavily influenced and transformed so rapidly by this technology?
I think it gets to the point that we as people are shaped by our experiences. This is how you develop taste. Model is an averager of everything.
Yeah.
An average, by definition, doesn't have a taste. And actually, I run many experiments working with all the models, and I talk to them, and I ask them, write in this style. Everything that the model produces in terms of writing, fiction, the style is rather bland. And I ask, why? And it was the model's explanation. I cannot remove from my trainings being an average. I need to be trained. I need to have like a body in a philosophical sense in order to develop a particular taste. And This is where people can say, look, but models have memory and they accumulate. That's true. But guys, our memory is not our identity. And I think it's a very simple metaphor to explain this. If you learn to ski, you can read all the books in the world, you can memorize all the books in the world. It doesn't make you a skier. You have to fall on the slopes in order to go ski. That's kind of the same. But right now, there is no technology where I can take a huge model like Claude or Codex and transform it in the enterprise based on any enterprise experience. So basically, any enterprises will have the same model, the same weights, with different notepads attached. That doesn't mean individualization in the context of an enterprise. It doesn't mean they really understand the customer. It doesn't mean really understand the process.
Andrada, as someone who works with Daniel every day, who works with our customers every day, works with our partners every day, can you talk sort of about the characteristics that you think about when it comes to, I guess, sort of like two dimensions? So the first dimension would be when you look outside at like how you want to build these teams, what are you looking for specifically?
Yeah, so I'll go first to Daniel's first question about the skills, right? Because if you think about it, I think it's the easiest question to ask, but it's also the wrong question to ask because I think in this whole world of AI versus humans or humans with AI, we kind of miss the main differences. So like even now Daniel talking about memory. Like models have memories, but they lack the motivation to be excellent, right? Like you can learn as much as you want about skiing, but if you don't have the motivation to become a good skier, you're not going to get there, right? With the skills, I think it's kind of the same. Like AI can provide a lot of the knowledge that was seen as the skills before, but it will not give you the curiosity. It will not give you the grit to push through when something doesn't work just the way marketing was explaining it. So I think like that's exactly the way I'm looking also at my own team, right? And when I look across the board in our company to try to understand which of the employees, the team members we have, are not just looking to survive this transformation, but have the curiosity to actually thrive, like, and these are the people who you will get a Slack from on a Sunday being, hey, I got stuck with this, like trying to figure out how to set up my Mac Mini to like play with this new agent by myself, and don't wait for a company policy to tell you how to do it, right? So these are the people who are curious and don't look at a problem as a threat, but look at it as an opportunity. I think also just overall is the commitment to the organization that you are part of. I think Daniel talks a lot about this as well. Like organization change, titles change, teams change. But if you are committed to just like the mission of the company and you are committed to just evolve who you are as a professional, I think that's what will make you win, whether you are at UiPath, you are in an AI native company or any other company out there. There is just like the pace of change right now is just ridiculous. So it's either you are very excited and you just like go with that flow, or you just get paralyzed and you think, oh my God, how will the transformation impact me? So yeah, I'm personally excited to just feel like every day I'm a beginner because I feel like I just don't have enough time. And I sometimes joke with Daniel saying like, probably it's the first time in my life when I wish I would be unemployed to have all the time in the world, to play with all the tools. But yeah, I think like this idea of like truly a beginner mind to bring to work and in your personal life.
Yeah. There's a phrase, Daniel, that you've used a couple of times. In times of anxiety, action is the answer. Talk a little bit more about this idea of how you sort of can exist in this environment where change is so rapid. I mean, by the time this episode is over, there will probably be something that has happened that will change how this conversation is received. It's just how fast things are happening. So talk a little bit more with not doing what Andrada described, which is like being so paralyzed, like of taking action, even if it's in feels directionless.
I think first we need to acknowledge that I think everybody feels some sort of anxiety, me including, because we play in a very uncharted territory. I think we don't know how our kids' career is gonna look like. And many of the people's reaction in times of uncertainty is to take a pause and let's see what's gonna happen. Even in some of our customers, we are seeing this. So they might say, if AI in 1 year or 2 years will do everything, why should I do anything right now? Which I think it's the completely wrong approach. as an employee, I think everyone should understand that roles have multiple outcomes. And there are visible, measurable outcomes, and there are intangible outcomes. Let me give you an example. Let's take a lawyer in our company. If they are doing contracting work, okay, so they have to review contracts with customers in order to close the deals, okay? The outcome, this deal is getting closed, we sign from a legal review. That's clearly something that AI is gonna help. And a person is becoming more productive, right? But the other outcomes is how that person behave in front of the customer. Actually, I've seen many times that can influence the entire relationship with the customer. You can leave a sour taste in how you behave. Think about that person can be a mentor to others, can be someone that has been with the company for many years. People are looking to that person. If you just blindly remove a person like this on the idea of job compression, of absorption, you are losing this outcome. So I think every enterprise should have like two ledgers. One is the visible outcome, and the other ledger is the hidden outcome. And they should acknowledge that that can be lost, when you make this workforce transformation. In my opinion, the enterprises of the future will have more of the startup density of roles in people. If you work in a well-defined domain and your job is purely reactive, you receive an inbound request and you come with the point of view, that kind of role in itself, this single outcome role, will be compressed. Now about the employers, the enterprises. They need to understand it's not going to be a magic way where you can plug in an Einstein in your messy business processes and the Einstein will start working. This is not going to happen. So what does it mean when I said in the beginning of this podcast that enterprises have been designed human-centric? It means that they expect when you bring someone, they will learn from other humans. They will learn a lot of tribal knowledge that is not documented. That type of documentation, it's needed to bring AI agents in successfully. Look, many enterprises might have a map of their kind of business entities. Like in an invoice, they understand what an invoice is, what the customer is, what are the products, that they sell in an invoice or they buy from other things. But they don't have most often the actions on the invoices map. It's not clear who has the right to verify an invoice, who has the right to approve an invoice, who has the right to pay. These are not mapped clearly, and this information is spread across departments, across people. An agent will have to have this fully documented in order to work. And it's not a process that is going to happen overnight. I think this process is going to take years. The transformation of the enterprise to become AI-centric, human-centric, and automation-centric in the same time is going to take years. And that's really the only way that you successfully deploy AI.
Yeah, you kind of jumped to the question I want to land on, but I really appreciate you bringing that up. We talked about sort of the classic design of the enterprise has always been, as you say, like built around human capabilities. What can the people who work there actually do to further the goals of business? And if you add the agentic dimension, you add the automation dimension, now you're talking about like the complete picture of all of those capabilities together. Most of the people coming into the workforce, though, are playing with Claude or playing with ChatGPT and doing research. So as this new generation comes in who has a greater facility with the tools and maybe the people who are already in these enterprises, what advantages do they bring in this conversation? And more importantly, like how should we be thinking about what we should prioritize first as they come in to teach them? Is it their tribal knowledge or is it something else? And this is a question, I guess, for you, Andrada.
Yeah, and I guess like Daniel already touched on parts of it, right?
Yeah.
Because one, it starts with mentorship, right? Like making sure you don't just like bring junior people in and just let them figure it out, because they have to figure it out way faster than what we had to figure out when
Mhm.
we were juniors, right? So that's you have to be very intentional about that. And I think also just to help them translate that AI proficiency into actual business processes,
Yeah.
right? And I think like that's where the magic happens, because I think again, like going to what Daniel was just saying, they're an easy target. You see a lot of companies just like struggling with this idea, like, do I still need junior talent when any LLM model out there can just give me the easy work that
Mhm.
it was seen as their work? But I think Daniel also like just has a really strong point about, if you don't bring the junior talent in, you risk not having your senior leaders in a few years from now, you know? So you have to be very intentional. So I would just say, like, bring them in, trust them, but also just like be with them to mentor them along the way and to help them translate that proficiency into business.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great point. I want to get back to the future of work idea that you introduced, Daniel. So you've talked about what it should look like, the human capability mapped with the agentic capability and mapped with the automation capability. But we talked about a lot of things that are going to change or things that are changing in the moment. What do you hope doesn't change when it comes to like the intrinsic nature of what an enterprise looks like?
I think it's hard to make predictions, given the rate of change. I think in the end we need to realize that our entire economy was built for humans. And in the end, I think that if humans want to do a job that is interesting and they are passionate about it, we will have a mean to offer them that job. Many people create an identity about about their jobs. Also, something that made me write a lot about workforce transformation and AI diffusion in enterprise. It started with a conversation with a friend, a lawyer friend of mine, and she said that it's not about her job being replaced; it's about her identity becoming irrelevant.
That's such a powerful idea. Yeah, talk more about that.
We have to, as a society, it's in our interest as a human species to maintain our identity as a people. So we'll have to offer people a way to do a job they are passionate about it. AI in the end, it's a tool. I don't buy really this narrative that suddenly AI somehow magically will develop an identity, a self. I don't think even philosophically we understand the nature of will and how humans work. To me, this is a tool that we need to really understand well, and we need to redesign our enterprises and economy around this tool. But in a way, it's like electricity. We don't. It just made our lives better, and I think eventually it's gonna enrich our life. But I would always, regardless of token cost and everything, I would always prefer to give a human a way to express themselves. Long term, they bring the value. They are the one that bear the culture of a company. They have the stake in the game. And think about if we hollow completely an enterprise of people, how do you define stake? What's how AI has a stake? Who respond for consequence? I think the most damaging thing that executives can do right now is to just embark into let's cut the workforce without really thinking what is the role outcome that is not visible, what I am losing when I'm doing this. You also risk when you cut blindly just for the sake AI, it's gonna help me increase productivity. You don't know yet who are the best people that will work with AI. It's not exactly what you believe. Think about our entire educational system was centered about creating like a credentialed middle of people. That was the way to advance in your career, to get a good credential, to become an expert into a narrow domain. That's kind of gone this. So there are other human traits that are more important. Even the desire to work with AI, desire to change UA, to get out of the box you've been operating, you don't know until you try. And this is gonna be that's related to the anxiety part. That transformation, it's happening over years. There is no magic potion that an enterprise can take right now and remove the anxiety of the people. No one say I can remove 10% of my people, 20%, 40 like blocked in. No one can guarantee I'm not gonna do another round in whatever. No one. There is no guarantee. So I think for people, the only guarantee is to build yourself through this transition, understand there is a transition, but understand there are human traits that are so valuable and they are unreplaceable. And I want to make this statement. I really believe the jobs of the future will be much more enriched, and that will create a lot more meaningful people. And people become something through their jobs. And they will become something even more than today when their jobs are more meaningful and they touch more domains and they always, jump between things and they bring their creativity, they are engaged. To me, that's this is where we have to land as a society, basically.
Yeah.
And from a culture standpoint, like if we miss the human touch, where are we going? Like if you think about the AI transformation we were just discussing the other day, think about customer experience, right?
Yeah.
How much of this domain was captured by agent and how many of us are walking on the street trying to get support on the phone and be like, human, I want to talk to a human. So I think like that's what happens also like on the hallways, like there is something really special between humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that there's a relational aspect of this that I think it's so really important to make sure that is always as front of our mind, is that the work might get done by agents or might get done by robots, but the idea of what the outcome you're looking for, that's a creative act that starts inside the person who imagines what that reality is going to look like and then builds the capability to get to that reality. Like this conversation around outcomes and ROI continues to come up again and again and again, and I'm so glad to hear it here because makes me feel a little bit better about like where we're going, and that I'm not gonna be someone who is gonna have my natural curiosity get betrayed because a tool can do it better than I can, or do it smarter than I can, do it faster than I can. That's really
You
great.
still have to be there to understand things. The tool is not gonna do it for you. So I've seen my experience in writing this book using I think all the tools. I'm using GPT 5.5 Pro. I'm using Claude Opus 4.8, Gemini from time to time, all of them. And I'm using in different ways. One is doing editorial review, one is doing writing, and I reverse the roles between them. It's quite a fascinating process. But I inject the ideas. They work like sounding board for me. I told them, guys, I don't think that AI can develop a will in itself. What do you think? And then the models surface something amazing, like an American philosopher from the 70s that had a lot of work about will. And it formulated something that it really, stay with me. And saying this, there are two different orders of will. There is one order of will where you say, I desire something, right? But there is a second order when I want to want something. Only people can say something, I want to be a better person. A model can have desires based on the kind of training biases, but the model doesn't exhibit any sort of this sort of second order.
Yeah.
I want to become something.
Yeah.
I want to become something.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. It speaks, I know we are talking, about philosophy, but it's important nowadays when people say the models will just become Einstein. No, the models are not becoming Einstein. Not anytime soon. Not until we understand the notion of wills, the notion of desire, the notion how we trigger, even the notion of pain. We are trained so much via pain. How do you inject pain in a model? And if you find a way to inject pain in a model, are you not creating some sort of the monster, some sort of a Frankenstein, and you don't even understand what's there? It's so complicated. And I think we build this for us as humans. That's in the end the most important thing, and we have to build it for our sake. If it's not in our sake, we should just simply not use it. It's as simple as this.
Yeah. I can't wait for the future episode where we do the philosophy conversation, where it's just we don't even talk about orchestration. We don't even talk about AI. We simply just talk about what makes us be the people we are and why we do the things we do.
I think this is an important conversation that is not right now happening in the public space. And we keep hearing something that models exhibit consciousness without really understanding what is it's. Are they talking about human consciousness, or are they talking something of a novelty that
Like machine
like
consciousness.
machine?
Yeah,
What does
yeah,
it
yeah,
actually mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Well, we have to stop there, but I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I'm really glad you guys could be here. Daniel, thank you for coming again. Andrada, great to have you here. We're just going to continue talking about this, I think. No question. Thanks for listening to The Path Forward. We'll see you on the journey ahead.